Howdy, howdy folks. In today's video, I will discuss 5 lessons learned from 14 years as a private investigator. As a professional private investigator, the biggest key to marketing yourself and gaining new clients is going to be in how you can differentiate yourself from the competition. Making yourself and your PI business stand out will help customers know that you are indeed not just another pretty face out there, not a run-of-the-mill PI, and you are definitely not part of the norm when it comes to choosing a PI to work with. This individualization of yourself and your company can be done through many different types of things. One of the best ways to differentiate yourself from the competition is if you work in a niche field or specialized field of investigations. Perhaps you mostly work in cold cases as an example. This is a field of investigation that would most definitely set you apart from other PIs out there. Or maybe you have expertise in auto accident investigations or accident reconstruction. These types of specialty areas of investigation would make you stand out too. But what if you don't have a specialty area of investigation? Well, perhaps your specialty is regionally based. Listen up, this is how I got started, how I set myself apart from the rest of the crowd, how I differentiated myself as a PI when I first got started way back in 2008. I started out doing almost entirely workers' comp and other injury-related surveillance investigations. But when I went out on my own, when I decided to see what work I could drum up myself, I knew I needed to have something that made me stand out in the ever-crowded world of surveillance investigators. Then it hit me. I was looking at all of my cases I had worked thus far, and I realized the majority of my cases were rural cases, surveillance jobs out in the country, in the mountains, and far, far away from civilization. That is when I knew I had some serious expertise in working these rural surveillance cases, and that set me apart from the competition, to be sure. Perhaps you have night vision cameras and specialize in night surveillance. That would make you stand out in the ever-crowded crowd of surveillance investigators as well. You see, no one likes doing rural or night surveillance, and if you specialize in these areas of investigation, you can really take the lion's share of that portion of the market. Another lesson I have learned over the many years I have been a private investigator is knowing the value of patience and persistence. In this profession, these two key elements, persistence and patience, are necessary if you are to be successful in your private investigations business. You need to be patient at all levels as a professional private investigator. You need patience in getting your phone to ring, working your advertising, marketing, and SEO, and giving it time to work for you. And you need patience in working with clients to get the sale completed. Clients don't just call you and ask you where to send the money. They don't make the decision of hiring a PI on the whim, and they don't know always exactly what they need from a PI. You also need patience during every step, every part, and every facet of each and every investigation and case you handle. It is not like in the movies. You don't solve the mystery in 60 minutes with 4 commercial breaks in the middle. You have to have the patience to wait for the clues to become evident. And you have to be persistent in trying to find those clues, persistent in looking for the answers, and persistent in searching for that smoking gun. I have had cases where I have had to interview the same witnesses 2, 3, or more times before I finally got that one piece of information I needed to bust the whole case wide open. I have had surveillance jobs where I had to sit out in the blistering heat of summer or in the frigid cold of winter for hours, days, and weeks on end before I ever got a glimpse of my subject. And my patience, my perseverance, my persistence to get the job done paid off in dividends when I got the money shot. The third lesson I have learned after these many years of being a PI is to not rush the results. Don't jump to conclusions early in the case. I see a lot of newer PIs taking allegations at face value and never waiting for the evidence to prove itself during the investigation and jumping to conclusions early in the game. And you know who was the worst at doing this? Yeah, me. I was that way too when I first started. I would get a case in, the client would say this person is doing this or that or the other thing, and I would go out assuming they were right in their assumptions. Then I would go out on surveillance or head out to do some interviews and assume I would get affirmation or confirmation of the allegations, only to find out things were not exactly as the client said they would be. We must, as professional private investigators, be finders of the fact. We must be watchful for the evidence as it presents itself and document and report it as such. That is why being persistent and remaining patient is so key to ensuring you are not jumping to those conclusions. The fourth lesson I learned after all these years as a PI is to maintain your principles. Always keep your moral compass in tune and in focus. I cannot emphasize this too many times, folks. You need to be ethical. You need to have principles and moral values to succeed in this profession. One wrong decision based on poor moral decisions is the one main thing that puts so many PIs out of business. Your reputation will follow you in this profession, and in most cases, it even precedes you. If you decided to cut some corners, do this one thing just one time because no one is watching, and it will help you get the job done quicker, easier, or whatever. I can guarantee you that you will be tempted repeatedly to repeat these actions. And once it catches up to you, well, it will be part of your reputation. It will be what makes you stand out, and standing out because you are the one PI without principles with no moral compass will not lead to success as a professional private investigator. Here is a good example I hear from time to time. In Colorado, we cannot record a conversation someone is having with someone else unless we are a part of that conversation. Colorado is considered a one-party state, meaning one person in the conversation must be aware that it is being recorded. And to further complicate things, if we are working for an attorney, we must abide by the ethics rules of the attorney, and they, the attorneys, cannot secretly record a conversation even if they are part of the conversation. I have heard that some PIs still record witness interviews and other conversations just to help them write their reports. They don't turn in the recording as evidence or as part of their investigation. They just use it to help make their job easier. I say hogwash. Pure and simple, that is hogwash, folks. They are either lazy and they don't want to take notes, or they are incompetent at conducting interviews and shouldn't be doing them in the first place. And you know what? If they will cut that corner just to help themselves out a little, just to save some time, just to make sure their job is a little easier, what other corners will they cut? I have had investigators work for me in the past who cut some corners here and there just to make their job a little easier. And guess what? Yeah, they don't work for me anymore. And if anyone asks me about them, I just simply state, well, based on my experiences with them, I wouldn't hire them again. That is all that needs to be said in this profession, folks. Word gets around pretty darn quick. There are thousands of PIs out there, and the PI profession is a close-knit community. Which leads me to number 5 on the list. But wait, don't go anywhere. I have some bonus lessons to give you too. Be proud of your work, folks. Take pride in the work you do and be proud of the profession you work in. Make sure you strive to be the best you can be. Excel in everything you do and maintain pride in the professionalism you put into the job. The pride you put into the job will help you differentiate yourself from your competitors, allow you to be more persistent and patient in your PI business and investigations, maintain your principles, and keep you from jumping to conclusions. You see, folks, all these things are intertwined, intermingled. Each of these attributes relies on the others to help you succeed as a professional private investigator. Bonus tip number 1, which means there is a bonus tip number 2, by the way, is to make sure you are of value to the PI profession, the PI community, and to the clients whom you interface with. You can add value to the profession by teaching others the things you know. Start a blog, a vlog, or even start a YouTube channel and share your wealth of knowledge. Or you might go to your state PI association and see if you can do some free training for them, or participate on their board of directors or on a volunteer committee. Adding value to other people's lives is one of the greatest ways to not only succeed, but build pride in what you do. One of the greatest quotes I ever heard from one of my biggest heroes in life, Mr. Zig Ziglar, is this: "You can have everything in life you want if you will just help enough other people get what they want." Which leads me to the second bonus tip for you, which is be a lifelong learner, folks. Don't stop learning. Always strive to learn more, and never be so proud that you think you know it all. I have attended dozens, probably hundreds of PI training events, classes, and courses, and some of them I have seen many times over. And you know what? I still learn something every single time I attend one of them. I always say, the day I stop learning is probably the day I will die, and I am not ready to die today, so I better get to learning something. Now, if you would like to know the secrets on how to become a private investigator, then check out this video.